What's up, guys? It's the real main event, the Rogue Soldier, the essential John L. Crossfire.
And I'm Mrs. Crossfire.
And once again, you guys are tuned into Caught
in Conversation. Shakalaka-laka.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 79 of Caught in Conversation. As always, I am your host, the essential John L. Crossfire. Pretty simple episode this week. Kind of, a little bit iffy because it was the first time doing it in this format, but this is the fourth episode in the Mark-A-Palooza series, and near the tail end of this episode, myself and Steve will discuss future episodes. This is going to be a permanent fixture now in the Mark-A-Palooza series. So we've got three separate formats, of course. The actual real live cards that myself and Mrs. Crossfire or whoever the co-host may be for that particular episode will fantasy book in our own different ways and then compare notes and yada, yada, yada. You guys know the drill. Of course, the Royal Rumble one, we've only done one of those so far, but I'm really hoping to do one for this year's Royal Rumble. I really hope we can get it out before the actual event because it'll make it even more fun. And then now this one here where me and Steve, or me and High Octane, who Steve shouted out in this podcast. So if High Octane is listening to this episode, shout out to you in the intro. Someone that has a brilliant wrestling mind and could come up with some fantastic matches. But yeah, where we kind of come up with the matches beforehand, throw out the listener votes to you guys, and then decide on the card the stipulations and the match order and yada, yada, yada. And I'm assuming 9 out of 10 times the listener votes are going to determine who wins. So I'm going to kind of have a spoiler who wins, but it's going to be fun kind of toying with my guests. There was a couple ones there with Steve where I was like, winning with X amount of votes to Y amount of votes, it's da-da-da-da. And then I kind of, there was one there, I believe, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the title matches anyway. I think so. I've only just recorded the actual episode as I'm recording this intro, and I've already forgotten. But that's ADHD for you. But yeah, I kind of threw Steve off the scent a couple of times, and hopefully threw you guys off as well by the time you get there, but probably not because I just spoiled it. But anywho, the song of the week this week will be Son of a Sinner by Jelly Roll. It's one of those songs that kind of went viral on TikTok, as a lot of them have, but I really love Jelly Roll's music. If you guys haven't checked him out, go check him out. It's kind of a mixture of country and hip-hop. I think it's more on like the hip-hop side to some extent, but he's got very much a country twang to his voice, and he's a dude that's been through a lot of shit, and he writes his lyrics from the heart. And Drew Jacobs actually covered the song only a couple of weeks after it was released. I think it was only like 2 weeks at most, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. If someone actually does know that information and I'm wrong, I'm sure they'll tell me. But the official song of the week this week is Son of a Sinner by Jelly Roll. I've been jamming the fuck out of it. It hits hard in a lot of aspects, and I'm sure, like everyone's been through hardships, like just to some extent. So I'm sure anyone that listens to the song can surely relate to it in at least the tiniest amount. But yeah, the song of the week is Son of a Sinner by Jelly Roll. The match of the week this week is a match that I literally just watched this morning. As I record this, it took place last night live, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP United States Championship at Wrestle Kingdom 17. Fuck me, what a match. Now, I'm not going to sit here and you're going to hear me repeat myself in this conversation with Steve because it briefly came up, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about how this is the greatest match I've ever seen and it's 7 stars or 8 stars or whatever ridiculous number Dave Meltzer's probably going to break his star rating for it. But if someone wants to tell me that this is a 5-star match, chef's kiss, I ain't going to argue with that. Absolute banger. I enjoyed it. What Mrs. Crossfire saw of it, she enjoyed it. I cannot wait to hopefully get another match between these guys down the line. Possibly if they do a Forbidden Door 2 for AEW, they can reignite that. But just wow. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. Wrestle Kingdom 17. Go out of your way to find that match. The easiest way for you to do it is to sign up for New Japan World. But just wow, fantastic match. Hats off to both those guys. But without further ado, let's transition into Mark-A-Palooza 4, Just Because. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Ref Steve. By the time you're hearing this, I've already done the intro, so you've heard all the bells and whistles. We are doing the fourth installment of the Mark-A-Palooza series, basically just because one night myself and Steve were bored, and he sent me a message on Messenger, and I was like, hey, these are good matches, rather. Botchamania, I'm going to leave that in. These are good matches. We could make a pod episode out of this, and then it's just evolved into this entire thing, basically, but we'll go through the rules just to kind of freshen people's minds. It sounds a lot more complicated than it really is, but unlike the traditional format that will make up most of these episodes, as I said, we put these matches together just based off a random mini-game in Messenger because of why not. Each person took turns naming an active, that's the key word, active member of either the WWE, AEW, or Impact Wrestling rosters, respectively. And pretty simply, the other person just responded with who they'd want them to face. And being a super card, there's going to be 14 matches in total. There's 4 pre-show matches and 10 main card matches. This is like a fucking AEW or New Japan pay-per-view that just goes way too long, but thank God it's only fantasy. But there's currently 12 matches set in stone, and there's going to be 2 extra matches that we're going to be adding very shortly. Literally right here on the podcast. I've got a few names in mind, you've got a few names in mind, but the reality is neither of us knows who the other is going to throw out. So could be very, very interesting. We're going to have a regular tag team match where, following on from the order that we named it, I'll name a team and then you'll name a team. And then for the triple threat, for the triple threat tag, Steve will name a team, I'll name a team, and then just to make things interesting, Steve will name the first member of the third team and I'll name the second. So good Lord knows what fucking teams are going to be smushed together in this, but we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. The only rule that we had, as we said, besides the fact that they had to be active members of those 3 rosters, was there's no double duty to be pulled. And then we're going to kind of go through match by match at the order that we've put it in, and then we'll then discuss a final order, if you will, as well as who wins that matches. And spoiler alert, I have tallied the votes. Some of these are landslides, so they could go, whether me or Steve agree on matches or not, the listener votes could completely sway it in the complete opposite direction. So that's going to be fun when we get to that part. But did you want me to start running through these or what?
Go for it.
Because originally I did have in the rules that if you and I couldn't decide, we'd flip a coin, you call heads or tails, we'd do 2 or 3. But I can say convincingly, I think only one of these may come down to that, looking at some of these numbers. But as always, the important rule of these is to have fun. So currently, and I've written these matches in order that we made them. This isn't the actual order. This is just the order they were made on Messenger. So we have Kevin Owens, which was my pick. Steve picks Sami Callihan. And then it goes Steve, John, Steve. You get the picture. So we've got Wardlow versus DIJAK, Moose versus Brody King, Demon Finn Balor versus The Fiend, MJF versus AJ Styles, Gunther versus Brian Cage, Jay Lethal versus Josh Alexander, Alexa Bliss versus Jordan Grace, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill, Rosemary versus Abaddon, Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews, and Cora Jade versus Athena. And as I said, this was the point where Steve pointed out that if this was a real card, we'd be fucking broke. And I was like, hey, why not add 2 more matches because we don't have any tag matches? Just to kind of, amp it up that much more. Why not? Now, before we go any further, I had this discussion with you, and I did mention it on social media. Some of these people do have singles titles, and I did include them in the graphics that I put on social media. Do you think that we should put them on the line? Because I'm kind of on the fence. One listener did say yes. It was actually the only listener that responded to that part of the question was, put the titles on the line. So what do you think? Are all these people defending their titles? Because I feel like that, in a way, almost then sways our opinion. But again, the listeners have already cast their votes blindly regardless of whether the title is on or not. Fuck it, we're chucking the titles on the line here for Mark-A-Palooza? All right, cool. So
we'll make it interesting title defense for the champion.
On mine, I wrote down, for example, Gunther versus Brian Cage. I wrote WWE Intercontinental Championship, but I put an asterisk next to it because I wasn't sure which way we're going to go. But did you want to start off by doing your first pre-show match, or did you want me to kick this off?
My first pre-show match, I'm looking at the card. It's probably not going to be a popular choice, but I'll have to go Rhea versus Jade.
Okay. So my first pre-show match, I had Rosemary versus Abaddon.
Hey, the match under it. Then after that, I'd go Wardlow versus DIJAK.
For match number 2 on the pre-show?
Yeah.
Well, I also did Wardlow versus DIJAK for match number 2 on the pre-show, so I'm going to lock that in. I'm going to type that in as you give us your third match, if my phone wants to cooperate. Here we go. Okay, Wardlow versus DIJAK. Match number 2 on the pre-show.
Cora versus Athena.
Cora versus Athena. Interesting.
Yeah.
So for mine, because as I said, we don't know who's in these tag matches, so currently I've just got triple threat tag as match number 3 on the pre-show, because I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good match. Obviously, once we get the competitors, it could be interesting. People could be yelling at me, and why would you put that on the pre-show? But I guess once we have a final match card and a final order, we'll see who does and doesn't get mad.
Well, either way, we'll know someone will.
So what's your final match then on the pre-show, Steve?
This one, I know people are going to get mad at me for, but Demon Finn versus The Fiend.
See, as I'm writing this, I'm like, I don't want to add stipulations and stuff, but then for this one specifically, I'm like, is it an actual match? Is it a cinematic match? If it's a cinematic match on a supercard, why not chuck it on the pre-show? But I don't know. That's not a bad idea though, like, because you're ending the pre-show and then basically the crowd can then come down from that and then, take a breather for however long and then you go to the opener. But for my final
the opener's going to be fire.
My final match on the pre-show, I had Rhea versus Jade, and I guess now it is officially for the AEW TBS Championship, so we're still in the very much same vein. You had it on the pre-show as well, so it'd be interesting to see once we get the figure. But who do you have opening your card, your main card?
Opening the card, I have Gunther versus Brian Cage.
Holy fuck! Yes, that is literally what I've got written here. We're setting that in stone because we're in agreement. Gunther versus Brian Cage for the IC title. What is your second match on the main card?
Second match on the main card will be Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews.
Okay, so I've got Moose versus Brody King for my second match.
Yeah, I was thinking because, going for 2 heavy hitters in a row, and it's like, change up the style.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that as well, but then I look at Moose, and kind of much like Brian Cage as well, they're not your typical big men. They do, flippy-doos and shit, so when I was putting it together, I'm like, yeah, it could work, but you're probably right on that. I don't think that will be the final order when we do it. But, okay, so you've got Jungle Boy versus Buddy. I've got Moose versus Brody King. What's your third match on the main card?
Alexa versus Jordan.
Okay, so this is where I slotted in Cora Jade versus Athena. That's probably not going to be a popular choice amongst people because I know there's a lot of people that are very indifferent for whatever reason on Cora Jade. I think she's a fantastic talent, and obviously Athena, fantastic talent as well. But who have you got then after that? I've got it written as match 8, but I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the main card.
And this is where I'll have to go Moose versus Brody King.
And this is funny because this is where I slotted in Jungle Boy and Buddy Matthews, so we literally had those matches on the opposite spectrum. Okay, who have you got for the match after that then?
MJF versus AJ.
MJF versus AJ. This is where I had Jay Lethal versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship on 1, 2, 3, 4. Match number 5 on the card. I'm going to have to keep counting because I tried to freaking structure it so it was 1, 2, 3, 4 and then match card number 5 and I've put brackets in openers, but now I probably should have gone 1, 2, 3, 4 and then started again from 1 to 10. But anyway, that's just me ranting. Who have you got at match number 6?
6. I'm going to have to go Jay versus Josh.
Nice. So that's where I had Alexa and Jordan slotted in there.
And obviously the main event being next year.
So we're up to, where are we? So 4 pre-show matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be match number 7 on the main card. So we've got 3 matches that we have announced, plus the unannounced tag match. Actually,
3 matches.
I think you've still got the triple threat tag too, don't you?
Yeah. There's only one one-on-one match I haven't announced.
Because I've got the card in front of me, because I'm trying to read and write at the same time. My ADHD's having a fucking field day.
I saved this one for the main because obviously, you know, they're kind of like a similar style. They'll just slug the shit out of each other,
So
and
this
they'll
is match number 7 officially on the main card. It's match number 11 all up.
Which one haven't I announced yet? I'm confused.
Ooh. So I'm looking through the ones I haven't announced yet, and this is going to be spoiler alert, but I guess they're not in like the full order. So I've got MJF versus AJ, the normal tag, Demon Finn versus Bray, which you've already done, and Kevin Owens. And I think you've still got both the tag matches, and I think now you've got Kevin and Sami left. Is that correct?
Yeah, Kevin and Sami was my main. That's why.
Okay, well I've got Kevin and Sami as my main, so let's just jump ahead. I'm gonna lock that in. Kevin Owens versus Sami Callihan. I almost wrote Sami Zayn out of fucking habit. You know what, for the sake of it, I'm gonna add no DQ. Just regular no DQ for Sami and Kevin, because why the fuck not?
We both know if that was a real match, that's where it would lead to anyway.
So, match 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, you said number 6 for you was MJF versus AJ, I think?
Yeah.
And I had Alexa versus Jordan. Okay, so what's match number 7 then for you? That must be one of the tag matches, is it?
7 was the Owens and Sami.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said that was your main event.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it is. The tags where I've got to come up with 2 names there.
Yeah, so there'll be a normal tag match, and we'll come up with them after we've gone through this, and then we've got the triple threat tag where we pick a team each, and then we're smushing a team together. So in mine, I just wrote triple threat tag and tag match with asterisks next to them.
Yeah, and since we'll just throw the curveball there, and we can't have an actual tag team like Young Bucks, for example, I'm going to go with.
No, well, we're not saying who's in the match just yet. We'll wait until we've got like all the matches that we've put in our order first.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, the tag match.
So yeah, the triple threat doesn't have to be a tag. The normal tag can be a regular tag team if you want, but the names that are at the front of my mind aren't actually a regular tag match. So you're just going to go tag match for number 7.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had, as I said, number 7 for me was MJF versus AJ Styles, and then we've got 3 matches left on the card now, so I guess this is like the piss break before you get to the 2 Sami mains. What have you got for match number 8?
Female tag?
I'm trying to think.
Oh.
The only match I think you've got left is Rosemary versus Abaddon. And then
Fuck, I totally forgot about that one.
So that'd be Rosemary versus Abaddon is what you've got scheduled in. Because then
I totally forgot about
triple threat
I knew I was
tag.
getting that one match, but
it's like literally right in front of me. People are going to listen to this and be like, get your shit together. But like, it's literally right in front of me. So then that would leave then the triple threat tag for you. And then obviously we both agreed, spoiler alert, that Kevin Owens versus Sami Callihan would be the main. And fuck it. So
fuck.
With that being said, we'll make the 2 tag matches. So for the regular tag match, I was going to throw out Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
They're kind of a tag team, so
I'm like they're half a tag team, half not. But
you got those 2 locked in.
Yeah, that's who for the regular 2-on-2 tag. That's who I've picked, Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Moxley and Kingston, I'm going to have to go... fuck. Malachi and Kenny, I guess.
Malachi Black and Kenny. That's a nice little mashup there. Because I do.
We're ignoring the real feuds, but you know.
Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. Not bad, not bad. So I do have an actual tag team in mind for the triple threat, but as we said, the final team is going to be smushed together. So I'll let you pick who's the first team in the triple threat tag team match.
First team. I'll go Roman.
Ooh, Roman. I didn't even realize he wasn't on the card. Roman Reigns and who are you teaming him with?
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer. Ooh, nice little WWE AEW combo there. Lance Archer and Roman versus... Fuck. See, because I was going to throw out an actual tag team, but now my actual tag team makes little to no fucking sense, and I also don't want to leave them off the card. Jesus Christ. Fuck my life. I'm not going to say who I was going to throw out in case you throw out one of them for the single person, but... okay, you know what? Because you've got Roman in there, let's chuck in Sami Zayn. And who can team with Sami? Trying to stick to the interpromotional theme here. How about Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho? Versus, and you can pick the first member of the last team, and then I'll pick someone to team up with them. So God knows what kind of fucking mashup we're going to end up with here.
I don't know if you want to consider him active or not, but Cena?
You know, I'll take that. John Cena.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. John Cena and... Oh, see, there's so many options, and it's like, I could still stick with the interpromotional stuff, but then there's... Are we including injured people on this list? No. Fuck. Because I was going to say, let's go John Cena and Randy Orton, because that'd be a nice little pairing there. But all right.
Make it harder.
Well, people are probably screaming names at me right now. Oh, should I go? I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of someone from either Impact or AEW, just for the simple fact of sticking with the interpromotional theme. But I'm really fucking struggling right now. Whew. And you just took Kenny Omega. That would have been a really good one to pair with John Cena, just to throw the little monkey wrench in there. You know what? I'm going to say Hangman Page. John Cena and Hangman Page.
Ooh.
That's a fucking weird as hell mashup, but why not?
At least you didn't say Punk, so...
I was almost considering it, because I'm like, he's technically still contracted as far as we're aware. So just to recap, my final order that I've got is, on the pre-show, I've got Rosemary versus Abaddon, Wardlow versus DIJAK, which is one we both agreed on, so that's locked in. I had triple threat tag, but that's now become Roman Reigns and Lance Archer versus Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho versus John Cena and Hangman Page. Take your biggest stars and throw them on the fucking pre-show. Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley for the AEW TBS Championship, and then you're over to the main card. Gunther versus Cage for the IC title, which is locked in as the opener. We both agree on that. Then I said Moose versus Brody King, Cora versus Athena, Jungle Boy versus Buddy, Jay Lethal versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World title, Alexa versus Jordan Grace for the Impact Knockouts title, MJF versus AJ for the AEW title, and then now our tag match at number 8 on the card and number 12 overall is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. That's a pretty decent spot for it on the card, I feel. It's later in the card. It's a main event-ish. And then my semi-main, I had The Fiend and... Oh, The Fiend versus Finn Balor, by the way. Not The Fiend versus... That. The Fiend versus Finn Balor. I almost said The Fiend and Finn Balor, and it kind of got me tongue-tied. And then the main event, which we have agreed on, and we've decided, fuck it, let's make it no DQ, is Kevin Owens versus Sami Callihan. So do you want to just give us a quick run-through of the order that you had the card in before we then go through and book this thing.
What did I say? Gunther versus Cage on the main opening.
Yep.
Then I had Buddy. Actually,
Yeah, you had Jungle Boy versus Buddy.
yeah, I'm going to trade that part out and put in Rosemary and Abad in there.
Okay.
This is for the main card, not the pre-show.
Well, you can start at the pre-show or go main card, then pre-show if you wanted to.
Okay,
Whatever order you want to do it in.
Pre-show, we'll stick with Rhea and Jade.
As number one, okay.
Wardlow and DIJAK as 2.
Yeah, well, that's locked in, that one, so that's awesome.
Rosemary and Abaddon, I guess. Put them down to the pre-show.
Why not?
And the 4th pre-show match will be the Demon and Fiend one.
Yep, just to piss off all the marks.
Why not? And as you know, opening the card for the main now is
Gunther and Cage. Which we got locked in because we both had that.
Then after that, I'd go Cora and Athena.
Okay, yep.
Then we'll go MJF and AJ. Following them would go Jungle and Buddy. Then Alexa and Jordan. Jay and Josh. Then
I love that we had those like after each other, but they were flipped.
Then that leaves just Kevin and Sami, yeah?
I believe so, yeah.
Then yeah, Kevin and Sami at the end.
Because I'm looking at it on mine, so I'm trying to keep track, but you're saying names that I've already scrolled past.
Yeah, it's confused the shit out of me too.
It's the fun of Mark-A-Palooza. Now, before we started recording, we said that, we were going to go through the cards and then we were going to book the actual order by going main, then opener, and then going back to the pre-show and working our way down. But we've already got the main event and the opener locked in, plus the second match on the pre-show locked in. So I'm going to go back up to the pre-show. As I said, I've got Rosemary versus Abaddon here. You had Rhea versus Jade. I also had them on the pre-show later in the card. So which one do you think we should slot in here? It can come down to a coin flip if you really want, or we can discuss it and come to an agreement. I'm not fussed either way.
On the pre-show, I'd say Rosemary and Abaddon. Abaddon, how we pronounce it.
Okay, so we're locking that in. Pre-show match number 1, Rosemary versus Abaddon. Number 2 is locked in because we had the same. And now I feel like this one is very much probably going to change because, as I said, I had triple threat tag, and that's now evolved into Roman and Lance versus Sami Zayn and Jericho versus John Cena and Hangman Page. I don't think that should be a pre-show match. Just
no. Yeah, no. Don't put it on the pre-show.
Who did you have at number 3 for the pre-show again?
I had Jade and Rhea.
Jade and Rhea. Well, I've got them at match number 4 for the pre-show. So you know what? I'll move them up. I'll slot that in. Rhea versus Jade. TBS title. Jesus Christ.
Then closing out the pre-show will be Wardlow and DIJAK.
No, because they're already number 2. That's why I just skimmed
Oh,
past
that's right.
that.
Yeah, sorry.
And then I've got, that's where I had my Rhea versus Jade. And what did you say? You said you had Finn versus Fiend.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what? Just to piss people off even more, I'm gonna agree with you right now, and I'm gonna slot that in. Demon Finn versus the Fiend. It's closing at the pre-show. Are we gonna make this a cinematic match, or are we just gonna leave it straight up singles match?
Well, we both know it's going to lead to cinematic because both of their characters.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like it should be like just a regular match, and that's why it's on the pre-show. Because then at a later date in Mark-A-Palooza land, they'll have the big blow-off, and it'll be a crazy cinematic match that everyone loses their fucking minds over. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
And then, okay, so we go to the main card. We've got Gunther and Cage locked in. Match number 2. I had Moose versus Brody King. Who did you say you had for the second match on the main card again?
Yeah, we'll go Moose and Brody King.
Moose and Brody King. We're going to leave that in. Cool. Moose versus Brody. Okay, match number 3 on the main card. This is where I had Cora Jade versus Athena.
So, same here.
Oh, that's right, because you swapped around your order, didn't you?
Yeah, I forgot about the Rosemary match. That's why I switched it around.
All right, so then following on from that, we've got Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews.
Yep.
Is that the same play? Oh, that's where you put it as well, because you swapped that match. Fuck me. I just almost wrote Jungle Boy versus Athena, because Athena's written above it for Cora Jade versus Athena. What am I doing? Athena Matthews. Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews. I swear I'm a professional podcast host, but not really. And this is where we had the same 2 matches, but they were flipped. You had Alexa and Jordan, and then Jay Lethal versus Alexander. I have Alexander and Jay, and then Alexa versus Jordan. Now, did you want to keep those 2 matches one after another? Because I'm like, we can just flip a coin if you like, and you can call heads or tails.
Like that.
Okay, so we'll keep them like that, and I'll let you call it heads or tails. We'll do 2 out of 3. Heads or tails, Steve?
Heads.
Okay, tails.
Fuck.
Heads. Heads, okay. So there you go. Steve wins, so we're going to flip those. We've got Alexa Bliss versus Jordan Grace for the Knockouts title.
That would be an interesting match if it would ever happen.
Yeah, I had the graphics made as I was watching Raw this week, and I was sitting there watching the match with Alexa and Bianca, and I'm like, I swear to fucking God, I'm like, Alexa better not win, because then I'm going to have to go back in and edit the graphic.
She should have won to fuck you up.
Okay, so we've got Alexa Bliss versus Jordan Grace, Knockouts title, Jay Lethal. I'm glad I'm doing this on my phone now, not my computer, because I'd be typing so much slower. Impact World Championship. And then we've got 3 matches left. So we have MJF versus AJ, the regular tag match, and then
The triple threat tag.
Yeah, that was it. Because I'm looking at it. I'm like, I've still got Fiend versus Bray written here, but that was before we. Okay, so what are we having? That's match number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Match number 7 on the main card.
7 on the card. With 8 being Owens and Sami. That's the main, yeah?
There's 10 on the main.
Oh,
10 matches all up.
Okay.
Because there's 14 including the pre-show. Because we're just like, fuck it, let's blow the budget. If Tony Khan can use all his dad's money, I can use all my imaginary money.
What money?
This is such good shit, pal. I'm starting to sound like Vince McMahon. I need a drink of water. So what match would you slot in this spot?
Malachi and Kenny versus Mox and Eddie.
So this is where I had MJF versus AJ, but I feel like, you know what, I'm going to agree with you on that. Now that we've got the tag matches set in stone, I'm going to go Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus That would actually be a fucking great match, though.
Yeah.
Malachi Black.
But the upcoming feud on AEW, that's going to be good, though.
Yes, definitely.
After Black versus Elite. Yeah, it's not on screen yet because House of fucking hell. Because the Elite are still feuding with Death Triangle, but you know.
So I believe we've only got 2 matches left now because we've already booked the main. So we've got MJF versus AJ Styles and that fucking massive star power triple threat tag that we just threw together that I originally had on the pre-show because we didn't know who was going to be in it.
Then all our main event stars just came back. Fuck.
All right, so do you reckon we should chuck in the triple threat tag, Or should we go MJF and AJ so we don't have two back-to-back tags?
MJF and AJ.
MJF defending the AEW World Championship against AJ Styles. We can dream, right? We can dream. AEW World Championship. And then that will lead the Roman Reigns and Lance Archer. Why is my phone playing up as I'm trying to type? Jesus Christ. We're live, pal. Not really. I can edit out some of the dead space, but Roman Reigns and Lance Archer versus Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down versus Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho versus John Cena and Hangman Page. I feel like that's going to be like the all-in scenario where they start running out of time and they've got to save time for the main, so the bell's going to ring and they're all just going to hit their finishes and then that's it. But I hope it'd be more than that. So
it'll be chaotic as hell.
To recap the final order before we go through and discuss who wins these, because as I said, a lot of these, you and I could agree on some, and depending on what they are, we could have no say. The listeners have just fucked us over, but that's all right. That's the whole point of me chucking all the votes and stuff out. So the final match card that is locked in now, on the pre-show, Rosemary versus Abaddon, Wardlow versus DIJAK, Rhea versus Jade for the TBS title, and then just to piss off the marks, Demon Finn versus The Fiend to close out the pre-show. And then we go over to the main card and we've got Gunther versus Brian Cage for the IC title, Moose versus Brody King, Cora Jade versus Athena, Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews, Alexa versus Jordan Grace for the Knockout Championship, Jay Lethal versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World Championship, John Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. I still can't get over that mashup. I need that to happen at least once.
You never know, it might happen one day.
MJF versus AJ Styles for the AEW World Championship, Roman Reigns and Lance Archer versus Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho versus John Cena and Hangman Page. And then in our main event, Kevin Owens versus Sami Callihan in a no DQ match. I'm blown up just reading that card. So imagine if like everything fell into place and the fucking sky falls and pigs fly and hell freezes over and somehow this exact card came to fruition. I don't know how I would deal. That would just be fucking insane. But who was your vote?
You lose your shit.
Who was your vote for Abaddon versus Rosemary?
I'm going to have to go Rosemary. Yeah, she's my pick and all, but you see, you haven't really seen many Abaddon matches compared to Rosemary.
So I also voted Rosemary, and the listeners, and for some reason, some people's votes weren't counted because they broke the rules, so it is what it is, but for some reason, some people that did vote, they didn't vote on every single match, so some of these numbers are very much blown out of proportion to the others, but I guess it is what it is. But Abaddon had 12 listener votes. Oh, sorry, Rosemary had 12 listener votes. Abaddon had 2, so with us agreeing on that, Rosemary now wins with 14-2. Jesus Christ. Poor Abaddon. I feel sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so Wardlow versus DIJAK.
Wardlow, I guess.
Okay, so I went DIJAK. So that would, and the listeners voted 7-5 in favor of Wardlow. So with our votes added up, Wardlow wins 8-6.
Oh.
So much closer than some of these are. So winner, Wardlow, 8-6. That's very close. Now this one, as I said, I think I said it before, I can't remember. But this one was a landslide, and we've got Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill.
Yeah, you already know who I'm going to say.
Just for the sake of it, who did you pick to win this match?
Rhea.
Rhea. Okay. So I also voted Rhea. So if you include both of our votes with the listener votes, Rhea Ripley now wins 15-1. So I guess Rhea Ripley is your new AEW TBS champion.
Was the streak had done somewhere?
And new TBS champion. And we did it on the pre-show. We did her dirty. And new TBS champion. My God, why is my phone ringing out when I'm trying to type? Rhea Ripley. What did I say? 15-1. Ouch. Okay, so to close out the pre-show, Demon Finn versus Bray Wyatt. Who is your pick here?
Out of both characters, I've always enjoyed the Fiend more, so I'm going to go Fiend.
See, I voted for Finn just for the simple fact of this could be the start of a feud with the Fiend going over, right? But with your vote, that makes it 6 for Finn, including mine, and with your vote, that makes it 9 for the Fiend. So the Fiend wins with 9 votes to 6. Fuck yeah, why not? And then we're about to kick off the main show, and again, this one was a bit of a landslide, but we'll go winner, the Fiend, 9-6. Okay. And our opening match, I would love to see this match for real. I don't know if these guys ever cross paths in the Indies and PWG or anything like that, but I'm sure if they have, someone will be yelling at me. But Gunther,
I don't think they have either, because they Walter most spending his time in I don't want to say, I can't remember where he's from, but yeah.
Yeah, he's originally from the UK, but he did spend a decent chunk on the US Indies here and there, and actually met him when he came to Australia. He was a super fucking nice dude. Had a banger of a match against Jack Bonzer at one of the World Series shows. I think that was that was the weekend he got signed to WWE, and it came out as he was in Australia, and I was like, holy shit, like, I'm so happy that I got to meet him. But Gunther versus Brian Cage for the Intercontinental Championship. Who are you picking here?
Gunther.
So originally I was going to say Cage, but because the title is on the line now, Gunther has to successfully defend the title, in my opinion. So with mine and your votes included, Gunther beats Brian Cage 11 votes to 3.
Ouch.
And still, IC champion Gunther. Ouch. What did I say? Did I say 11 to 3? Is that what I said? I've already forgotten.
You said 11 to 3.
Okay, Moose versus Brody King.
I'm going to have to go Brody.
So I went Moose. But with mine and your votes included, Brody King beats Moose 10-4.
Ouch.
That's what I said. Some of these are landslides, so some of them are really close, and some of them were just complete on the extreme. But I will thank everyone again that did vote. Made it more fun than you and I just kind of flipping a coin. Because as I said, there's some we're going to agree on possibly, and then it's just like the fans could just fuck everything all up on us. So Brody King wins 10-4. Cora Jade versus Athena.
Well, like, I like Cora, but we both know Athena would win if that was a real match.
So your vote there is Athena.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go Cora Jade. That makes it, with the listener votes, 9-7 in favor of Athena.
Fuck.
So Athena squeaks out the wing there.
Yeah.
So if you had have said Cora, we then would have had to have a coin flip to decide whether or not we were picking the winner or whether the listeners had picked the winner. But you shafted me. That's all right. Athena wins 9-7.
Speaking of Cora, though, I think sometime down the track, her and Roxanne are going to have a long-ass feud for the title.
Yeah, I do hope they have a rematch. I did enjoy the little mini feud, and I'm hoping they both can go off and kind of do their own thing, and then just mid-year perhaps kind of reignite it. If depending on how long Roxanne holds the title, I suppose. But yeah, I don't want them to like overkill it, because they did just have that big no DQ match, and then in the Iron Survivor match, you had Roxanne get her final pin on. Oh, actually, I think she got her first pin on Cora Jade, but the ending was Cora Jade hitting her finish on Roxanne, but Roxanne rolled out. So even though she was on the floor unconscious in kayfabe, she survived. The Iron Survivor did, Roxanne. So it was a great story to tell. So there's definitely room for more, but I think give it a little bit more time. I'm hoping someone different other than Cora wins this Battle Royal on this upcoming week's episode of NXT as we record this. But Jungle Boy versus Buddy Matthews. This one was very much a landslide. I feel like I know who you're going to pick, but just for the sake of this episode, who is your pick for Jungle Boy and Buddy Matthews?
Got to go with Buddy Matthews.
I mean, you got to support the hometown boy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm also voting for Buddy Matthews. And by a score now, including both our votes of 10-3, your winner is Buddy Matthews. I do have a handful of international listeners, so they're probably just going to be like, you biased motherfuckers, because the majority of people that did vote were Australian. Okay, Alexa Bliss versus Jordynne Grace, now for the Impact Wrestling Knockouts Championship.
I'm going with Alexa, even though we know Jordan's probably winning in the landslide vote.
So I voted for Jordan. So including our votes, your winner, 9-6, and still Knockouts champion is Jordynne Grace. Winner, Jordynne Grace. Yeah, insert Howard Finkel impression, but not really. And still Knockouts champion. And now I've got to go back down and see what the score was, because my ADHD mind already forgot.
For your future Mark-A-Palooza episodes, I'd be interested to see you do this mini game with your other guests. That'd be interesting.
I very much enjoyed making like the graphics and stuff, and I wouldn't mind doing it, because then that essentially gives me three separate formats for the Mark-A-Palooza, because I've got the ones that I've done with Mrs. Crossfire, where we basically take an event. Both of the ones that we've done have been, it was Survivor Series 21 and then Survivor Series 22, where we basically book our own cards of that in a quote-unquote realistic fashion, and then we compare our respective cards, and it's always fun, because we don't see each other's cards, and it's funny seeing the little bits that are different and the bits that are similar. For example, myself and Mrs. Crossfire, we both had Alba Fire from NXT as a main roster call-up on our Survivor Series 22 fantasy cards, and then we do like the actual predictions for the card as well. And then the Royal Rumble, I get a third person. I think it's going to be Atticus Slane again this year, and then we'll basically go one by one with picks. So last year, Mrs. Crossfire went 1, Shane went 2. That then gave me number 30 by proxy, and then I think I'll rotate it this year so someone else gets different numbers, if that makes sense. But that's a completely different tangent for another. But yeah, adding this, I think, as a third one would be good. And I'm going to throw this out there right now. Steve did mention about doing an Australian one. So that's one that I would like to look forward to in the future. But there's one I want to do. I actually had this idea, and I'll say this as I'm typing. So what did I say? Jordynne Grace wins 9-6. But I wanted to do one where we book kind of... I'm like, I don't know if we should wait for Extreme Rules or if we should just do it anyway, because I'm like, we could stick to this same theme where it's WWE, Impact, New Japan.
AEW.
Oh, sorry, we didn't have New Japan. We had WWE, Impact, and AEW. Could throw like a New Japan in there if you really wanted to, but I'm like, I want to like throw out a thing where I go, hey, listener suggestions. Give me, X amount of match stipulations, and then live on the pod, you and I then go through and we make out. So say I'll have 8 matches, right? And we'll decide who the matches are, like who's in what match, but then on the pod we'll go through and again decide the order of the matches, but again go through and decide. Basically, we'll have hopefully like 20 odd match stipulations. We've got to try and somehow weasel it down to 8 or 10, and then we have to have the discussion of, okay, which match gets which stipulation. That'll be probably try and do that one by video because it's more literally writing it as we go. But yeah, I'm ranting now. I apologize, Steve, but that is a fantastic idea. Thank you very much. But yeah, definitely going to add this. But yeah, I want to try and do it. Hopefully, seeing as how you basically came up with this thing, we can get you in on more of them. But Jordan Grace...
You know who I wouldn't mind you doing this mini-game with?
Who's that?
Someone you know very well, High Octane.
High Octane has a fucking brilliant professional wrestling mind. I just yelled into the microphone. I'm sorry. But I have so much just respect for him, and he's been a genuine mentor in wrestling and even just in life. But he is such.
One sec, sorry. Soon, Mum.
Shout out to Mama Ref Steve.
Yeah,
we're almost finished. Okay.
Just ask me to go to the
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches left. So we'll power through these, see how we go. Hopefully this episode turns out entertaining. I had fun putting it together. But okay, Jay Lethal versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World Championship. Who is your pick?
On Josh.
See, I also said Josh, but for the sake of it, I'll say Lethal. But it doesn't matter because both of our votes included, Josh Alexander retains the Impact Championship with 9 votes to 4.
So both the Impact champions retained.
So both the Impact champions retained. So far, only one title has changed hand because the IC champion retained as well. The only title that has changed hands was the TBS championship, and it was on the pre-show. I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley. My serious apologies. Josh Alexander, 9 to 4. My bad. It is what it is. Okay.
Because when you think about this minigame too, like, say you and High Octane did do this type of thing, it's like hard to choose. Like, you could, fuck each other's pick over. Fuck, I want to pick that guy.
The only ones here that we may possibly disagree on are the 2 tag matches. But again, flip of a coin, you'll call it heads or tail, best 2 out of 3. Pretty fucking simple. MJF versus AJ Styles for the AEW World Championship. Who are you picking here?
He's been on a hot streak lately, so I'm going to go MJF.
Yeah, look, as much as I'd lose my mind in real life if AJ Styles all of a sudden became the fucking AEW World Champion, I did vote for MJF for that reason. He's super, super hot. So with that being said, your winner and still champion with 10 votes to 5 is
Speaking
MJF.
of MJF 2, did you see the announcement earlier?
I did not know.
If Brian can win every match up to February 8th, it's MJF versus Brian in a 60-minute Ironman.
Oh, so they're essentially going to do what he did with Jericho, kind of, where he had to run the gauntlet and stuff in separate weeks. That's cool.
Yeah, but he has to win every match up till February 8th, which is Revolution.
It'll be interesting to see if, he loses the last match, so he still gets his title shot, but then MJF, being the sneaky heel, gets to choose the stipulation. That would be that's how I do it anyway, just because
MJF already agreed on the stipulation because Brian chose the 60-minute Ironman.
No, but I'm saying, imagine if Brian loses the last match, still gets a title shot, and then MJF goes, okay, I get to pick the stipulation now. That would be just a little something here.
And when you think about it, the 60-minute Ironman's going to really push MJF.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% think MJF could last the 60 as well. It'd be cool to see, and I realized I accidentally skipped a match for some reason. I went to MJF versus AJ. There's a match before that, which is the tag match. I scrolled too far. Oh well, but we'll go through it properly once we've got all the matches. But John Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. Who would you
Malachi
pick?
and Kenny.
Well, you know what? I was also going to say Malachi and Kenny because just this morning as we record this, I watched Malachi Black. I watched Kenny and Will Ospreay, and that is going to be the match of the week for this podcast episode once I slap the intro and the outro and all of that together. I'm not going to say it's the greatest match I've ever seen, and Dave Meltzer should break his, 7-star rating or whatever, but, if someone...
Rebecca, that'll never happen.
If someone says that it was a 5-star match, I'm not going to argue. I enjoyed it. Mrs. Crossfire enjoyed it. Your winners of that tag match, Malachi Black and Kenny Omega, and then the match after that, as I said, was MJF and AJ. I fucked up, my bad. Part of being ADHD and trying to run a podcast with one eye. The semi-main event, Roman Reigns and Lance Archer versus Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho versus John Cena and Hangman Page. Who is your pick?
Well, he hasn't been pinned in over 2 years, so Roman.
Okay, so my pick for this is Sami Zayn and Chris Jericho, because it's funny you bring up that Roman hasn't been pinned, so he's going to win. In my mind, looking at this on paper, I know it's in a promotional, but to carry on their actual storyline, Sami Zayn pins Roman Reigns. So what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to flip a little coin. Steve can call it heads or tails, best 2 out of 3.
Tails.
Tails. Oh, we're on heads.
Fuck.
Tails, oh fuck. Tails, okay, so your winners, Roman Reigns and Lance Archer. And Lance, I miss seeing Lance Archer. I miss seeing him with Jake the Snake as well, but unfortunately Jake did have a kind of a string of health issues and stuff, so I guess it is what it is, but hope to see them back together sooner than later.
Yeah, he's been in Japan lately, finishing off with the Suzuki Gun stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad to see that go, but I honestly thought they were going to go down the road of having Saber Gun or something, but Zack Sabre just fucking rejoined TMDK. Spoiler alert, if for some reason by the time this episode comes out you haven't seen the results for Wrestle Kingdom, but that throws everything out of whack, so I don't know. But we're here, we've got the main event, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. No disqualification. Who is your pick to win this one, Steve?
Oh. I'm going to go Kevin.
Kevin, okay. So my pick, because I looked at this as the man just wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. A loss isn't going to hurt him. I had Sami Zayn representing Impact Wrestling actually winning in the main event here, just so that all the marks could lose their mind because the smallest promotion out of the 3 stood tall in the main event of all things. But adding up your votes and my votes, plus the listener votes, winning with 8 votes to 5, Kevin Owens. I wouldn't be mad because he's very
It's going to be a good match either way.
Very slowly over the years, kind of just moving up the list further and further into my all-time favorites. He's 100% in my top 10, and he's literally he's about to kick AJ Styles out of the top 5 if he keeps going. So just to recap now, we have all the way back at the pre-show, Rosemary versus Abaddon. Your winner, 14 votes to 2, Rosemary. Wardlow versus DIJAK. Wardlow wins 8-6. Match number 3 on the pre-show. Your winner and new TBS champion, the only title that changed hand. I feel terrible for putting it on the pre-show now. With 15 votes to 1, Rhea Ripley. And then
that's probably the biggest fan side.
Closing out the pre-show, we have the Fiend defeating Finn Balor, or Demon Finn Balor, 9-6. Finn puts on all the paint just to go out there in the pre-show. Kicking off the main card, the opener, Brian Cage versus Gunther. Your winner and still IC champion with another landslide, 11-3, Gunther. Moose defeats Brody King. Brody King defeats Moose, 10-4. That's ADHD for you. It's right in front of me, and I'm still reading it wrong. Cora Jade versus Athena. Athena defeats Cora Jade, 9-7. In another landslide, Buddy Matthews defeats Jungle Boy, 10-3. Jordynne Grace successfully retains the Impact Knockouts title against Alexa Bliss. 9-6. It was looking very much a landslide to Jordynne Grace as these votes came in, but Alexa slowly started to make a comeback, but it just wasn't enough. Josh Alexander also retains his Impact World Championship against Jay Lethal, 9-4. The surprise tag match, Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. Your winners, Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega must be dead. He just wrestled Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
Now he's wrestled this match. He's in the middle of a best-of-7 series. He's got to wrestle a ladder match. I don't know, did it air today or is it next week on Dynamite that it's happening? But he's got all this shit coming up, and he's only just come back from injury. He's going to be on the shelf again. My bad. I apologize, Kenny, but here's what it is. Your winner, Malachi Black and Kenny Omega. I'm ranting. MJF versus AJ Styles. MJF retains the AEW World Championship 10-5. So again, kind of a landslide, but again, AJ slightly starts to make a comeback, but wasn't enough. Second surprise tag match. My original pick for this was going to be the Young Bucks, but then you threw out Roman Reigns and Lance Archer, and I'm like, well, that's a little bit, I can't just throw the Young Bucks in there. I'm sure it'd be a good match, but I needed some storytelling, so I threw out Sami Zayn and then Chris Jericho, and then the mashup team that myself and Steve put together of John Cena and Hangman Page, which for some weird reason I feel like would actually work. But the winners, due to Steve winning the coin flip, Roman Reigns and Lance Archer. And then the main event, Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, no DQ. Kevin Owens wins with 8-5. I had a lot of fun putting this together. It's a very unconventional form for the Mark-A-Palooza, but it's like everything. The first time you've always got to work out some kinks, but I feel like kinks. Anyway, I feel like, as you say, this is definitely a style that we can add into it and have 3 different formats for the Mark-A-Palooza series, because why not? It's a fantasy series. Why not, stretch the rules as much as we can? And what are rules anyway? I'm the one that makes them, but we've got to try and have some sort of parameters. But as I said, I want to try and do one where we possibly do stipulations or even gimmick characters, like, say, let me throw out Doink the Clown versus Gilbert or something like that, We might even lock that one in stone for a fucking future episode. Who knows? But I had a lot of fun. That was your Mark-A-Palooza card, and as I titled it, just because why not?
Why the fuck not?
Exactly. Why the fuck not? That might even be the next one we do. Might be, I think actually that might be the next one we do, Steve. I think we'll keep it simple. I think we'll do like an 8-match card, and we'll do it via video and stuff, and we'll literally make the whole thing just make it like kind of on the fly. So you'll pick
so on and so on.
Like we'll do it again where we'll have like the matches set in stone, but just kind of we can sit here and spitball and talk about stipulations and yada yada yada. And I'm going to even just call it that, Mark-A-Palooza, whatever number it ends up being that, why the fuck not? And it's just going to be a super gimmicky thing, and then for the sake of it, the main event can be all of those people back in the ring having a fucking battle royal. So they're all going to pull double duty in the main event, so feel sorry for whoever's in match 8, but fuck it, let's do that at some point, just because why not? But that was your Mark-A-Palooza card. Just to recap, your winners, Rosemary Wardlow, Rhea Ripley winning the TBS title in the pre-show. The Fiend, people are still going to be mad that that's on the pre-show. That's why I ended up going with you. And I'm like, you know what? I had that on the main card as like a semi-main kind of thing, but fuck it, why not? And then on the main card, Gunther retains the IC title. Brody King defeats Moose. Athena defeats Cora Jade. Then we got Buddy Matthews, Jordynne Grace retaining, Josh Alexander retaining, Malachi Black and Kenny Omega winning the surprise tag match against Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. MJF retains the AEW title. Roman Reigns and Lance Archer win that huge triple threat tag match that I originally had slotted into my pre-show because we didn't know who the competitors are. Imagine if that had been the final draw and that much star power was just the third match on a random fucking pre-show. What kind of fucking Vince Russo booking is that? And in the main event, Kevin Owens defeats Sami Zayn in an ODQ match. that would be a banger of a match. I'm pretty sure that Steen and Callihan have crossed paths like earlier, like in the years, like it probably would be a decade ago at this point, but I would very much like to see them at this stage of their careers cross paths, especially in a no-DQ match, because just both of those dudes are fucking just, they're so creative in what they can put into matches, and then they're gluttons for punishment, so be interesting to see what the fuck they do, but we're just on an hour now. It'll probably be just less once I edit out like the dial tones and all the stuff in our little mini conversation before we jumped in for about a minute or so, but might as well say an hour-long episode, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to let you go finish your day. I'll chuck an intro and outro on that, but as I said, the next one myself and Steve are going to do, I'm saying it now before I stop recording, we're going to do an 8 to 10 card. We'll discuss that off-air of just ridiculous fucking gimmicks, because why the fuck not? And that's going to be the name of the episode when that eventually comes out, but thanks for jumping on, Steve. I had fun doing this. I had fun making the graphics, and thank you to everyone that voted. Again, the listener votes for this format will probably be the core way of deciding things. But yeah, I'll catch you later, brother. I'll let you go.
All right, see you then,
See you,
man.
brother. All right, that was Mark-A-Palooza 4, just because. Thank you guys if you've made it this far. As I said, might be a little bit iffy because it is the first time that we've done it with this format, and you've got to kind of work out the kinks. Ha! And it's just, I have trouble kind of writing as I go just because of my ADHD and my eyes, but I feel like myself and Steve put together a pretty fucking good card there, and overall I am pretty happy with the order that the match has happened in. And if you've gotten to this far, I'm assuming you've, unless you've just skipped to the end for the sake of giving me a play, and if that's the case, then hey, hats off, thanks for that. But I'm going to assume, make an ass out of you and me, if you're listening to this outro, that you've just listened to the match card. The only regret that I have now in hindsight is because Rhea did win with that landslide, becoming the new champion. If it was a real card, I would have liked it to be on the main card, but that's the joys of Mark-A-Palooza. Sometimes you got to shoot yourself in the foot. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices, and hey, sometimes when putting real wrestling cards together, you got to make sacrifices. It is what it is. It's always card subject to change, yada yada yada. But speaking of real professional wrestling cards and card subject to change, make sure you check those links in the description of this episode. Wherever I post it, you can find it. It's not hard. It's right there. It's plain as day. But check out the links to MXW Slam in Sham on January 28th, their very first official show, and I'm still hoping and praying that somehow, someway I can make it. ICW Australia on February 4th has their first show of the year, and then another company, much like MXW, having their very first debut show on March 3rd is Anarchy Pro. All of the links to the Facebook event pages for those shows will be in the description, and then, ticketing information and everything will be from there. But all the matches and yada, yada, yada and discussions are on those Facebook event pages. That's the best way to keep up with all the information, is those Facebook event pages. But yeah, go follow them all on social media, really, while you're at it. If you haven't already, shame on you. And of course, along with all those shows, my links will be there as well. My link tree, which does contain my Pro Wrestling Tee store, my Amazon wishlist, if for whatever reason you are so inclined, and all of my social media. So there's actually going to be a Pro Wrestling Tee sale that is live as I'm recording this, and it will still be live within the first few days of this episode dropping. So go check out that. All of the fun stuff. I'm not trying to guilt trip anyone here, but we are still struggling due to me being off work and all the fun stuff. So if you can spare the money for a t-shirt or anything like that, I ain't going to say no. But yeah, the song of the week this week is Son of a Sinner by Jelly Roll. The match of the week this week was Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 17. I am the Essential John L. Crossfire, and you were just caught in conversation.